What up, what up, what up? Hey, everybody, hope you're doing well. Hey, I just want to let you know, I know everybody can't always support and donate to the podcast, but hey, if you can do a one-time donation, I put up a Buy Me a Coffee link in this description of the podcast. So if you go to the description of the podcast, it'll be at the bottom, and you can just go to that link, and you can buy me a cup of coffee, or two if you want. And that would just help support the show, and I can wake up a little bit more and bring you more info. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you can donate, that would be much appreciated. And let's get on to the show. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. So today we're going to title this one, What Would You Do If You Had Some Secret Alien Files or Secret Military Files? So in this case, we're going to talk about a young man, 21 years old, by the name of Jack Teixeira, who was part of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. Now, he was privy to some classified and top secret military documents that he released onto the internet. And we're going to talk about that and talk about, what other issues might arise if you or one of our military members did leak some alien information or military tech. So let's talk about this kid. Who is he? Where's he from? What the hell was he doing? And so on and so forth. So this 21-year-old, I'm going to call him a kid, was part of the National Guard. Okay, in all respect for anybody that's in the National Guard, but this kid made a mistake. Or maybe he's being a patsy for some other reason, but it sounds like he made a pretty big mistake. So he's a 21-year-old member of the U.S. National Guard and was charged Friday with unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information with willful retention of classified documents in connection with alleged leaking of highly classified information on the war in Ukraine. Now, as you know, the war in Ukraine has been kind of shrouded in this long, escalation of war over a decade has been going on with Russia, dating back to Crimea back in 2013, 2014, and it's been going on for a decade. But anyway, we're going to talk about this kid a little bit. So here's everything we know. This is on Yahoo News here, and where it's coming from. And this comes from the Military Times as well as the New York Times and ABC News. So a lot of trusted news outlets here. So this kid was actually picked up by the FBI at his house, and charged. Now, what's interesting is he didn't go to a military court. You would think he would, being part of the military and releasing military docs, he'd be going to military court. But instead, he's showing up in front of federal court in Boston. So they state that when he showed up in court, he entered with handcuffs, which were removed when he sat, and he did not enter a plea. So basically, it was just kind of like one of these preliminary hearings, and that's it. Got to see his dad, say I love you, and roll on. Now, what was this kid's role in the Air Force? Well, let's get to that. So he was an airman first class. Okay, so I think that's an E2, E1. Massachusetts Air Force National Guard's 102nd Intelligence Wing, based in Cape Cod, and he was taken into custody by federal agents in Dayton, Massachusetts, which is about 15 miles east of Providence or about 45 miles south of Boston. So that being said, they actually had aerial footage of this dude getting arrested, with all these FBI agents taking him into custody along a wooden driveway. I don't know about you. I couldn't imagine some FBI agents showing up to my house. But here's the thing. This is kind of what he did. The Pentagon and the FBI. Pentagon, dude. Can you imagine being 21 years old and the Pentagon's pissed at you? You know you did something wrong. The FBI had been scrambling to identify the source of a leak of documents for what had seemed to be about a week. And they were marked secret or top secret and posted to a private group on Discord, which is an online chat platform where you have to be invited into the group to become part of it. So you can create your own group. You have to allow people to come into your group and read whatever you guys are writing to each other about. In this particular case, this particular group, these guys were, talking about memes, talking about guns, and talking about video games. Basically what any 21-year-old is going to do, right? So what's what's fascinating is that the government always knows what's going on the internet, always. So even though Discord is set to private, you're not supposed to be able to read anything unless you're part of the group. He released information within that group. There were screenshots taken by people who were in the group, right? So even if you're in a private group, these people, anybody can take a screenshot and then publish it all over the internet. All you got to do is post up on Facebook, share it a few hundred times, then it gets shared a few thousand times, and before you know it, somebody sees it, or the AI that tracks any highly classified documentation is going to track it, find it, and track it down. Now, I'm surprised it took them as long as it took them. It sounds like it took them about a week to find this guy. They had a full blown investigation happen with the Justice Department. So a little bit more about this kid. He had created his own Discord site called Thug Shaker Central, where about 20 to 30 people, mostly young men and teenagers, talked about their, the guns and their memes and the video games. And Teixeira's mother told the paper that the son was recently working overnight shifts on base and had recently changed his phone number. But what's interesting is he signed up in 2019, September 2019, with the Air National Guard, serving as a cyber transport systems journeyman. Sounds like a whole big statement for something that has to do with something a lot smaller. It just seems like you could just say cyber systemsman, or cyber transport systems. You don't have to put the journeyman on the end. Journeyman's usually like kind of like a layman's term for like, a jack of all trades. So what's interesting is they put this high-tech, top-secret information in their hands of a 21-year. Well, actually, he was younger. He was, it sounds like 19 or 18. So that's what they discuss in this article too, is that the military needs to be very careful about who they entrust with top secret information. They also state in this article that they do give a lot of information to younger individuals, especially like officers and key individuals that need information. A lot of stuff is kept secret, obviously, but there's some information, briefing that needs to be done for all members that are going to be in a certain theater of war. And so, apparently he got some handheld or digital information and posted it up on the Discord page. So, that's the thing. It's, if you get charged with releasing high top secret information, you're going to be gone. You're going to be going for quite a while. You're probably going to be like, what was the Manning? Like in the army, there was something Manning, Chelsea Manning, right? She released a bunch of information about videos and things like that with war that wasn't supposed to be shown, that showed the American kind of like a dark light. And I think she got like 8 years or something like that. It was quite a while, man. So like, in Chelsea stated that she was doing it for a reason. Um, if you remember, she was in the military. While she was in the military, she was male, and then um, became transgender and became female. So she goes by Chelsea, and there was a lot of information there, and she was doing it for a purpose to try to kind of like turn the perception of the public, against the war. But this one, it's like the kid was bragging, and it's kind of disheartening. And I could kind of see, let's just say, for example, this kid was part of like the Area 51, right? And somehow he got his hands or a picture of some highly classified document about aliens. Don't you think one kid out of like a bunch of them is going to be like, oh hell yeah, I know about aliens. You want to know about aliens? Boom, here it is. I'm gonna send this out. And the same thing would happen. He'd get arrested. It just makes me wonder, like, is this a patsy move? Did he release something that was higher up than just the Ukrainian war? That's what makes me wonder. If we look at what was actually released, Yahoo did a detail, like super super deep dive on what he actually released. Let me go forward here. Hang on one second. I want to tell you what it was. So basically, it was kind of like the Ukraine's military capabilities within the war, what the U.S. saw as a problem, as issues that might arise as a liability, the positions of their forces, where the Ukrainian brigades were gearing up for imminent pushes, leaks on how 9 out of 12 Ukrainian brigades were being prepared for an offensive, were being heavily supplied with Western equipment. The 82nd Air Assault Brigade also seems to have received some attention in these documents. 3 battalions of Stryker infantry vehicles from the U.S. Were placed into the UK. There were also names of the 9th Strategic Reserve Corps and the 10th Operational Corps. And there were some other deep-ranging contributions from Canada and Poland, which would have put them into threat. See, that's what it really boils down to. And, what I've come to learn from all these military whistleblowers is that it's not so much that they tell us about aliens or like what happened in war. It's jeopardizing current war theaters and jeopardizing people that are currently actively in a military operation. And that's what this kid is doing by releasing this information. Okay? Like, if this war was over, whatever. Like, they could probably release, 2/3 of the information, and the rest they'd want to keep top secret. But here, you're releasing a lot of information, especially when it comes to like these drones that were shot down. He released this information about Russia's Iranian-supplied Shahed 136 suicide drones from February 27, 2023, confirming the claims that Ukrainian government had shot down 11 of the 14 incoming drones, which is really fascinating, man. 136 suicide drones, that's a lot. And they had shot down 11 out of 14, so they were pretty good percentage-wise. Over 75%, about 80%. And some of the documents talk about the extraordinary lengths that the Ukraine's Western partners, nations, have gone to keep Kiev's Soviet-era defense systems in the fight. So, like, Kiev is the capital of the Ukraine. They had some Soviet-era defense stuff that probably should have been shut down or given away or whatever the case was after the Soviet Union dissipated. However, they still have that tech and that those warheads. So these documents that were released by this kid, put a lot of people at jeopardy. Poland is also listed in the documents as having donated some S-300P platforms, a sophisticated air defense system that the Poles never officially possessed. So that's really interesting. So there's a lot of signs in these docs that have show that there's a lot of assistance from the West in different nations. And the entire effort is actually referred to in the documents as Franken Sam. So it sounds like all these Western nations are kind of put together like Frankenstein in assisting the Ukraine in fighting Russia. It almost seems like a losing battle with Ukraine. I mean, the Ukraine country is very large, but it's nowhere near developed, or as developed as Russia or as a lot of these other countries. So we have a lot of issues, especially with Russia. Russia is so massive. Their military is so developed. They may even be more developed than the U.S. I know the United States wants to think we're the best and the brightest and all that, but in all honesty, we've fallen behind Russia in the psychic studies. We've fallen behind Russia even in military weaponry. Even if you saw the most recent Top Gun, they talk about how Russia has better fighters than we do. They have better, what do we have now? We have like the Raptor 22s, and like the MiGs that they have for Russia. They're just like they outpower us. So that was like a big thing in that movie. So again, this kid goes. I mean, the docs that this kid has, it goes on and on and on. I mean, they did a deep dive into these docs. So could you only imagine? I mean, it just makes you realize how much of a political foobar event it would be if some kid released some docs about aliens and they could prove it. I mean, aliens, it's easy to disperse, right? It's easy to push aside and disregard because the U.S. government has just done such an amazing job to just say, hey, you know what, they don't exist. You're kind of kook if you believe that. So it'd be kind of hard to prove that. But these docs, when it just has to do with humans and war and political siding, can cause a big, big issue, even if they're denied by official channels. They can cause a perceived threat by Poland, a perceived threat by Canada, and Russia might target those countries now. Maybe they'll push even harder into the Ukraine to take over Poland, and then it might become like a World War III scenario. And then you better believe that the aliens would get involved because aliens don't want anything to do with any nuclear weaponry being let off. So this is a fascinating story. There's a lot to it. The major players have been made aware of these docs. Zelensky and Putin have talked about this. Even Zelensky told CNN yesterday that Kiev already altered part of the battle plans that they have in response to the intelligence breach. So that just goes to show you that the docs were legit. The docs were legit. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating issue. It shouldn't have happened. I'm not for disclosure that way, especially when it threatens people's lives. Alien disclosure is a totally different scenario. It may I don't know. I don't know how alien disclosure could threaten people's lives unless you wanted to say, hey, this particular guy was holding this information hostage. We got to put him in jail, or something like that. But that's not really life threatening. That's more you did something illegal. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? Very fascinating story. Again, if you want to put it in alien terms, just look at, Gary McKinnon, who hacked NASA back in 2021, 2022, and got charged. And he was in the UK, and they were really trying to bum rush him back to the US, and they couldn't do it. The UK wouldn't agree to it. It was determined that he was not going to be brought over. He was not going to be able to be charged in the U.S. The U.K. decided to not extradite him. So, but you can be prosecuted for it. So, when it comes to aliens, that's possible. Anyway, guys, I'll let you go. I'm going to jump to another topic, and I will bring it to you. I hope you guys are having a great, great weekend, taking care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Hope you guys are taking it easy out there. It's Memorial Day weekend out in the U.S., so hopefully you guys are having a great weekend, and remembering those who have fallen and who have fought wars for us, and to keep kind of this story in mind with that, and continue to question the universe. Until next time, guys, take care. Lockdown Universe out.